नमस्ते गुरुजी। जय गुरुजी महाराज। जय गुरुजी सात्संग जी। With folded hands, we thank you, our Guruji Maharaj, for enabling us organizing Satsang Sharing Shiva today. Today, we are fortunate to have with us dear Seema Gill ji, who will be sharing her blessings from Guruji Maharaj. Sangat ji, as we all know, we all are very keen to deepen our connections with Guruji Maharaj. We are looking forward hearing your blessings, your journey with Guruji Maharaj. Dear Seema ji, Jai Guruji, over to you.
Jai Guruji Maharaj, Anantam Shukrana for giving me this opportunity once again to sing your praises. I'm so delighted that we're heading into such an auspicious phase, approaching Guruji Maharaj's birthday on the 7th of July. What a blessed day that we were given this huge, huge blessing that Maharaj came upon earth to this, web to bless us, to guide us, to protect us, and to enhance our learning in life. I often say this. I often say that I'm in terrible karmic debt. My journey with Maharaj started with a journey of cancer and a beautiful Sangat that I'm confident Maharaj brought to my life, because that was the time that I had to get to hear about Maharaj. I went into his darbar for the very first time, and what an out-of-world experience that was, despite the pain that I was enduring because of chemotherapy. It put a huge smile on my face to be there, despite, like I said, the pain, the excruciating, experience that I was having due to the therapy that I'd been taking. Extremely grateful to you, Maharaj, forever in debt, forever in debt. And I say that I've always had a bad pack on my back, not a backpack, a bad pack of things that have been weighing me down, of my karma that has followed me incessantly, lifetime after lifetime. And in this lifetime, Shukrana Maharaj, that you're giving me a chance. You're so kind. A chance to wash away with your blessing, with your support, with you forever around, to wash away those terrible sins, those terrible things that we've done in our past lifetimes, that I've done in my past lifetimes, and to this living day, things that I've done that I still don't know, that I'm learning. But you're like the sunshine, Maharaj, you're like the sunshine in my life. With every breath, you're with me. You're like that teacher in class, Maharaj, that checks upon your work, reminds you this wasn't right, that wasn't done to the best way that you could have done it. Or even that pat on the back that the teacher gives you to say, you did really well. And those blessings shine through into your life through the word of another Sangat, through perhaps dream darshan, that Maharaj. And make no mistake, a dream darshan is Maharaj himself, present in front of you. So may it be through those dream darshans or through a satsang that you listen to, because Maharaj always said his blessings flowed both ways, for those who shared the satsang and for those that listened to it. So make it a ritual to imbibe from the satsangs that we hear, that I hear, that you hear, all of the teachings, to imbibe those teachings into our day-to-day life. Maharaj, Shukrana for your grace. Shukrana for my learning, Maharaj. Every single day is a classroom environment Only if we accept it and if we actually go ahead and be that good student in Maharaj's class. To stop expecting miracles early on in my journey, I definitely had the yearning, more than actually yearning to be at Maharaj's feet, the yearning to have that little whiff of Maharaj's blessed fragrance, or that dream darshan, or, you know, a vision, a miracle. But as time passes, Sangatji, it's not meaningless if you had those darshan, but the value of just being at Maharaj's feet is the greatest. Very early on in my journey, which properly started in 2022, at the tail end of 2022, Maharaj blessed me with the ultimate understanding that he's majestic. He's larger than anything you can ever imagine. And as shared in my previous satsang, on the way back from this family holiday, Maharaj came home with us. It was a very obvious occurrence, a satsang, where Maharaj defined that I have to stop looking because I found. Shukrana, Maharaj. Upon hitting home, as a mother, my first thought was that, of course, Maharaj gives his hukam on who joins, who attaches to him, when and where. That as a mother, I must bring my children, I must take my children to a satsang and leave the rest upon Guruji. Because even in the Gurbani, it says that that is something a mother must do, to direct your children to the path of God, the superior being, the ultimate, Guruji Maharaj. So willfully, I took them to the satsang, and they each experienced what they had to, what Maharaj would have wanted them to. When we got home, and by this time, Sangaji, it's important to know that we already had Maharaj's Swarup at home, been hanging on the wall for the best part of 5, 6 months. And my youngest daughter took a pew right in front of that Swarup. She looked at the Swarup and she said, Mummy, where have we met Guruji before? And I said, oh no, sweetheart, we haven't met Guruji before. Unfortunately, we didn't have the good fortune to meet with him. Maharaj left his chola in 2007, way before you were born. And I also wasn't able to meet him in this lifetime. So I said, why do you ask? And she said, Mummy, I've seen him in a dream. Little did she know that it was a dream darshan, but she described. And I said, when was this? And she said, when I was in such and such school. And I said, you did? Okay. And so that would have put her between the age band of 5 and 5.5, because that was kindergarten, into a sort of a private institution. And I said to her, I said, okay, what was Maharaj saying to you? She said he wasn't. He just sat like this with his hand on one of his cheeks, and with his other hand, he was almost as if playing music or tapping to music, and he was smiling. And I said, did he say anything? She said, no. Almost after a minute's pause, it dawned on me. I go to her, I said to her, why didn't you tell me? And asking for forgiveness, Maharaj. And I said, so why did you tell me? And she says, Mummy, I didn't know who the guy was. I didn't know who the guy was. And so it all sort of sat well that Maharaj had jogged her memory as she sat at the satsang in this beautiful, all the darbars I always say are beautiful and divine. But in this particular darbar, wall to wall, there was just images of Maharaj and his swarups. And I'm sure Maharaj took her back to that time, reminded her that he'd been in her life longer than she'd have known, longer than I'd have ever known. And such is the way of Maharaj. He's in your life before you attach to him. He's always there. He's omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. Shukrana Maharaj. My eldest daughter, too, attached to Maharaj just like he ordained. And shortly after the first satsang, um, was the time for her university applications. And even though she'd got acceptances from most of the universities that she'd applied to, some with scholarships, hefty scholarships, there was one such institution pertaining to her curriculum that she wanted to really go to. And what happened, Sangatji, was that she did not get through. And in the response letter of rejection, very glorified rejection letter, it said that the pool of applicants was huge. And even though her average and her numbers and everything that they read into were very good and sort of past the threshold required, but just simply because the high pool of applicants and a lot of foreign international student applications, they really couldn't accept her. So it was a very polite send off. I remember it was the weekend and a beautiful darbar near us always had Monday satsangs. But that weekend, somehow, any which way, I can't remember, there was also a weekend satsang, so the Sunday satsang. So 2 days on the trot, I was at this satsang. By this time on the Sunday, we already know that my daughter hasn't got through to the university of her optimal choice. The way I'm sat in the darbar, I'm actually looking at Maharaj's Swarup this way. The Gaddi is on this side, but I'm backing onto a wall, and ahead of me is Maharaj's rock star Swarup. And in there, as you know, Maharaj has his hands this way. And all he's showing me throughout the satsang, every time that my eyes open, I'm looking at it and I can see M and W. M and W, which were almost the starting letters of two universities where one of the applications had been rejected from, and the other one that was also potentially on the list. On the Monday, same place that I sit down, I see the very same Sarup, and now I can't I can't locate the W. I can only locate the M. And I'm like, what's changed? And I can't see this with Maharaj's fingers. Very descriptively, I can only see the M. I come home and I say to my daughter, you're going to get through to that university starting with the M. You're going to get through there. 100%. Maharaj did not let me see the W, and you're going to get into the M University. And she goes, Mummy, it's not possible. I've already got a rejection and they don't reconsider. I said, put an appeal in. Come to Maharaj's darbar. In this very darbar, we sat down. She opened her laptop and she phrased in her own words a letter of appeal. Promptly the next day, she got another rejection. She was very distraught. She was like, Mummy, I don't think what you said might be right. I said, I am certain Maharaj gave me a very strong, intentional thought that you're going to get through. So I said, just reappeal it. She doesn't reappeal it. However, she comes screaming down the next day and she said, I got into this university, Mummy. And I said, I knew it. And she says, Mummy, I said, was it the appeal letter that overturned it? She said, no, Mummy. To the appeal letter, I already got the rejection. But when I went into my email, the email said, why haven't you accepted your seat. So Maharaj can turn everything around. It's always his hukam, and it's always the intent with which you revere him, the intent with which you worship him. You know, I made the mistake once testing Maharaj. We're not to do that. We must just trust. And that trust is flawless and so innocent the younger we are, the less indoctrinated we are with this world, the closer the bond. That's what I've come to learn. It's impossible to know Maharaj's ways. And it's impossible to negotiate because what's written is written by him. He can change it upon his will. And this reminds me of a satsang that's very close to my heart because it's a reality check. On a trip away from home and on our way back home from that trip, I'm grateful to Maharaj that my family was happy to hear satsangs and Shabad Gurbani all the way there and all the way back. During one of these satsangs that I was listening to, it was Old Sangatji's Satsang, Narendra Dhand Uncle Satsang, where he describes how he was meant to take a flight and how Maharaj called him at the opportune moment and predicted, not predicted. He stated that that flight was to go down and that to save Narendra Uncle, he saved all of the passengers of that flight by failing the engines. And as Maharaj was speaking to him over the phone while he was at the airport, behind there was an announcement uh, by the crew or staff to say that the flight wasn't going to go that night and that everybody would be put up at a hotel. It's it's ironic, and at that very moment we were going over a bridge. And the name of the bridge resonated with me because it was the name of a band that I used to listen to in my younger years. I paused the satsang. My husband told them that that was one of the biggest ports in that country. A lot of cargo would come there, and there were huge ships and whatnot at that port. So I paused the satsang. My husband shared that, and at the same time, I played a song that was synonymous with the name of that particular bridge. And we quietly drove back. Some hours later, we were just getting, it was early hours of the morning. We were just getting ready for bed, to just relax after a long, long, long drive. And my son comes into the room and he says, Mummy, have you heard the news? And I said, no, what's wrong? And he says, Mummy, the Baltimore Bridge has been hit by a cargo ship due to mechanical failure. And it's not fully known, but some passengers, some drivers and vehicles have fallen to their death into the murky waters. I don't think there's a death count stated at this moment, but of course, as people found that their family members were missing, it was deduced that those people lost their lives. I was devastated. I get goosebumps as I speak now because it was frightening that so many people didn't know that they were going to drive over a bridge and then just go straight down. There was utter gratefulness as well, simultaneously, to Maharaj for having saved the lives of all 7 passengers in our car. But for days after that, I was very shaken, and even to recount that moves me today. I fought with Maharaj in my inner self as I sat at a satsang. And I said, why, Maharaj? Was I not a capable Sangat of yours? Because I was thinking of Narendra Dhan Uncle Satsang, where Maharaj had said that he saved everybody. And I thought, Shukrana Maharaj for saving me. But why did the others have to die? And clear as day in my head, there was a voice, the voice of Maharaj, that said, surrender is acceptance. Surrender is acceptance. It's later that I would comprehend that what Maharaj says is, what he was telling me is that surrender to Maharaj is acceptance of his will. The minute we negotiate, Sangatji, we fail in our passion, in our love, in our regard, in our respect for Guruji and his will. Surrender is acceptance, Maharaj. I fully understood that. Sangatji, a sweeter satsang. My eldest daughter, after having been to the satsang, after having that university experience, her faith got stronger. And I often told my children, don't seek miracles. We're not looking for miracles. We're looking for blessings. And the closer you can be to Maharaj's Charan Sharan, the more you'll experience that strength of faith, and the more he'll become a part of your life, an important part of your life. He's always there with you. So one such day, it was coming up to my daughter's exams, and so somehow, some which way, she realized or she decided not to tell me that she'd lost her wallet. The next day, I got a call from the police. So, you know how a mother would feel upon looking at the phone status showing there was a police station calling you. And it was from the city where my daughter studies. I was so frightened, scared. I still categorically remember answering the phone saying Jai Guruji. On the other side was an officer who said he was looking to speak to my daughter. He named my daughter, and I said she wasn't home. But immediately I knew that if he was looking for her, something untoward or sinister hadn't happened, because if he was looking for her, then clearly she hadn't, with Guruji's grace and blessing, that she hadn't been in an accident or anything, because otherwise he would be reporting to me what had happened. So I was kind of a little bit relieved. And then very soon he says, I'm looking to speak to her. And I said, she's not around at the moment, but I can have her call you. And I said, is there anything I can help with? And the officer quickly says that yes, she had lost her wallet in an Uber, but the Uber driver was honest enough to bring it back. And I wanted to say there was X amount of money in it, her driver's license in it, and all of her credit cards and debit cards, bank cards are in here safely and securely. And I don't think anything should be missing, but I just want to speak with her. And Sangatji, Maharaj did things in a way that everything in her wallet was intact. Moving forward, I want to talk about my youngest daughter who has had the blessings of Maharaj's dream darshans twice. But very recently, we had an incident at home, which was very unexpected, and it did shake all of us up a little bit. It was a little bit of a stir in our lives not so long ago. And I want to say, Maharaj Shukrana, to give them the blessing of understanding that you're always there. And Maharaj knows this, I'm one of his most, I don't know, useless in a way, Sangat. I don't remember things. I'm not very ritualistic. Yeah, I'm not the person that's always doing bhog for Maharaj. I'm not the person that's always lighting a candle ritually every morning and evening. I do it as I go along. He holds my hand. He reminds me. And some days he's busy with so many other sangat. I don't have the memory. But anyway, as this thing happened, my daughter and I was going up, I was turning all the lights off, and I saw that there was a little tea light in Maharaj's Chota Darbar, which is a space in a niche in the wall, which was originally my mandir. And Maharaj, graduated to that space. He, with his hukum, that space was his space before this darbar was actually designed by him and ordained by him. So in the niche, I see this little beautiful tea light. And I wondered, and at that time, there was just the three of us, my son, my youngest daughter, and I. And the next day, I asked my youngest, I said, "Did you light the tea light candle?" And she said, "I did, Mummy." And I said, "Tell me what you were thinking." And she said, "That Guruji always protects." As also today, I had a little breakdown yesterday over a few things. We all go through all the obstacle. I remember that obstacle race we used to do at school. You're jumping high hoops, and then you're literally crawling on the ground, and then you're jumping another skip rope, and so on and such. And sometimes life feels like that. And doesn't matter how strong your faith is, you are shaken and you're stirred. And I had a bit of a breakdown, and my youngest daughter, I was driving when this was happening. I was relating to some incidents, and I was talking to my two children. And the younger one says, "Mummy, Guruji has a very good plan." Shukrana Maharaj for this blessing. At a young and tender pre-teenage, you've given my daughter the blessing of understanding you and your ways, or at least to vest her trust in you, Maharaj. Shukrana. You also blessed my son. Um, he was the least favorable of such a belief system. And I remember when we were traveling India, I'd often debate with Maharaj in my head, and I would say, "Well, I don't know when his time will come, Maharaj. I so wish that he attaches to you, but I know it's always in your timing, in your divine timing." And lo and behold, we end up at a satsang where there is so much Sangat sharing happening by Maharaj's old Sangatji. More than 5 satsangat shared satsangs, including Anil Chopra ji. And I was just in awe. And my son, I still remember, he admittedly, he would say, "I cannot sit down for too long, Mummy. It's really hard for me to sit down. Can you ask if I can do seva?" I said, "Sweetheart, everything happens with Maharaj's hukum. But I will ask, and they don't know us from Adam. They might just say, 'Well, no, we've already got everything figured out here.'" Anyway, I went in and I politely just said, if there were any sevas available, my son would like to do them. He was granted seva to serve langar prasad, pick up all the trays and so on, langar thalis after Sangaji were done. And he diligently completed his seva, and then he he actually ate his own langar prasad. Shortly after he ate his prasad, he said his stomach was churning and he felt very ill and he just wanted to get back home. We were meant to stop at a friend's house that evening and then stay overnight over there and then get back home to fly out of India then. And no sooner had we hit the house and he was violently sick. He threw up everything he'd eaten. It felt like everything he'd eaten for days, right out there. And he was trembling and he was angry. He was like, "It's the Indian food. I don't know. I'm sure it's a Sangat satsang food." And I said, "No, the satsang food, make no mistake, is your blessing. And perhaps the only reason it's been able to pull out something, some gunge out of your system, and be grateful. As he calmed down, in my mind, as a mother again, I kept thinking, that's it. He was already not attaching Maharaj. And now this, he's never going to really understand this, Maharaj. Please, let this not be the end of his journey. Sangatji, that was my only humble, polite request to Maharaj, that let him have another opportunity. And then quickly I remembered we mustn't ask. And I said, Maharaj, I know everything happens in your hukum, everything exactly as you ordain it. Um, Sangatji, we had to stop over in one country before returning home. And the morning of when we're leaving, so that night, Maharaj gave him a dream darshan. My son is a man of few words. He doesn't really say that much. He's very concise. And what he ended up saying to me that morning is, Mummy, I had Maharaj's dream darshan. I said, you did? And I kissed his forehead and I said, you're so blessed. And he wasn't the one to make this up because he was the furthest away from Maharaj. And he says, I don't remember much, but I do remember Maharaj said, your scores will be good. Today's Monday, your scores will be good. And 2 days later, your scores will be good. He says, Mummy, but I'm not sat any test or exam. What does Maharaj mean? I said, dare I comprehend? Dare I comprehend? He best knows. But all I can say is that you're blessed. The very fact that he was there for you. Because Maharaj used to often say, old Sangaji used to ask him, Maharaj, you came in such and such a dream and you didn't come to mine. And Guruji said, I don't come to just walk into your dream. I come to bless you and usually to remove an obstacle in your life. So Shukrana Maharaj, because my son distinctly remembers he was in a conversation set with you, facing each other like that, and your eyes, he said, were bright brown, and they were emitting light, but not in a scary way. And a second later, I asked him, because my son doesn't really speak much Hindi or Punjabi. He understands it, but he's not fluent in either language. He'll get by. And I said, did Maharaj speak to you in Punjabi? He said, no. In English, Mummy, in perfect English. Maharaj, you have your own way of connecting to your Sangat. Divine ways, Maharaj. Thank you, Shukrana, Shukrana, for blessing him. Because oftentimes in his room, your Sarup would be there, but it would not be the most essential thing to him. It was me as a mother saying, Maharaj, look over him. Maharaj, bless him. But since that day, everything has changed. Everything has changed. He too has been blessed by you, Maharaj, with a university of his choice for his onward educational journey. Shukrana, Maharaj. Sangaji, it's very obvious that as a mother, everything that we yearn for is to do with how well our children can do. And there was a time when my cancer journey had begun that my only worry used to be a husband can find a wife, but how will my children find a mother? Sangaji, Shukrana to Maharaj that with utmost confidence I can say, Maharaj, you've been there for us all. You've been there for me in the darkest of my dark times, Maharaj. You've been there for me without me knowing then. But today, I know that you're there for my children too. Because you are that big umbrella we're all under that shelters us from the worst storms, that protects us, that shakes and stirs us too. But you are the biggest anchor of our lives, Maharaj. If we understand that, life becomes simpler. In all the doldrums that we get into, and all the tough times that we get into, you see that ultimate light. And one of the things that I'll never forget that I heard in a satsang is that Guruji said, somebody said, that person is so bad, Guruji, why do you bless him? And Guruji said, the sun doesn't select, is not partial, is not cherry picking who it must give its rays to. The tree does not choose on a sunny, bright day who it must give its shade to. Any passerby, any traveler stopping under the shade of a tree will equally receive that shade. Such is our kind and majestic Guruji. And I also read one time that Gu, if I'm not mistaken, in Sanskrit means darkness, and Ru means light. And the two words put together make Guru. And Guru, our Guruji, brings us from darkness into light. He brings us through the journey of life. He breaks the cycle of birth and death. If only we solemnly pledge to work this life in the manner that we should, with his simple teachings. And I remember when I first associated myself to this whole, what I thought was a system, very carefully prescribed system. There were 4 or 5 observations I made. I was in love with Guruji from the moment go, that's for sure. But I thought, what a beautiful Guru. Look at all the swarups of Maharaj. And it hurts me when people alter the swarups, doctor them, write things over them. It really, really is disappointing. But look at the pristine swarups of Maharaj that, Raghurai uncle had brought to us with so much grace. May his soul rest in peace. And I look at the bags under Maharaj's eyes right at the beginning, because I'm a skeptic. Maharaj knows that. The wrinkles, et al. And I thought, what a beautiful guru, even amidst all my skepticism. He wasn't about trying to doctor his looks to look grand. He was real. He taught us to be real. The other thing I loved as I was starting, to walk upon his path was that he didn't do pravachan, no long sermons, no explanation, no reinvention of the wheel. He simply asked us to refer back to what was already written. And on some occasions, Maharaj confirmed that he wrote a particular Shabad. And he asked Auntie in the Sangat to listen carefully because he wrote it. Mere Satguru, मैं तुझ में नवर न कोई. Sangatji, life has transformed. One of the other things I absolutely, absolutely was in awe of, and I still am to this day, is that when I first stepped foot into Bare Mandir, before that, just as a backdrop, I always had the dilemma because I was born into Guru Nanak Ji's Piri as a Bedi. My husband is Hindu. My mum was the biggest Shiv Bhakt I could have ever met. And so in her house, we always had Path and we had puja. And so in my head, there was this dilemma amongst so many other Devi Devtas that we hear about and that we must worship. And I never fell into those rituals, but it caused me more antagony. I would always wonder which way I have to go. And so when I stepped foot into Bade Mandir, right there ahead of me was Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Right there in front of me was Shivji Maharaj. And right there in front of me was Maharaj's Swarup and Maharaj's Gaddi. And an answer that I'd sought for a very long time, which was, Kinu vi man le, main hi haan. Thank you, Maharaj, for giving my life direction. I have often said I'm a spiritual nomad. Sangaji, there's also spiritual fatigue. Somebody once beautifully said in one of the Sangha Satsang sharing that we have to stop running. Sometimes we chase our tail. We get so engrossed in just doing something because everybody's doing it that we're running. And I quickly found out that that leads to doom. That leads to spiritual fatigue. You need to pause. One of the most beautiful things that Maharaj said, also heard in old Sangaji's Satsang, is that when you're alone, talk to me. When you're with someone, talk about me. And that is the most fulfilling thing. I often say, Maharaj, I'm your ever ready battery. And please keep your hand on my head, Maharaj, and allow me to sing your praises non-stop. Keep on pumping the energy in me, Maharaj, to remember you, to thank you, to share your praises, to never be shy. Because when we receive our blessings, we're ever so happy. So why be shy? Why be shy when you talk about all the blessings that Maharaj has given to you? There's no reason to be shy. There's no reason to be afraid. There's no reason to wait for a moment or to plan for it when you're talking about your lovely, lovely, lovely Maharaj. Maharaj, Shukrana for everything. Shukrana for all the tests. I did say this before and I still believe it. I'm your favorite Nimbu and I'm not afraid to be that. Life will take you up and down. And a lot of those things that you're experiencing are the repercussions of your actions. So in my bad pack, the best thing I have is your companionship, Maharaj, your presence, the knowledge that no matter what, you're just there. And you're ever present. We lose the vision. I've lost the vision so many times. You get derailed. Spiritual derailment is real. And especially for a nomadic person like me, such a nomad, looking here, there, wondering about this and wondering about that, and Buddhist chanting and Shiv Yoga. And I always saw through the commercialism and I could never attach. One of the other things that always stuck with me, and it's very important that we share this with upcoming Sangaji, that there is no Chadhava in Maharaj's Darbar. All your offerings are your seva. No money must be left at the feet of Maharaj during a satsang. Guruji Ashram is a whole different concept. And I've always said I don't want to get into that. That is the way the operations must work. because of the magnitude of Sangat. And Shukrana Maharaj, he always said, Laina lagan gaya. And it's coming to be true. And for miles and miles from Bade Mandir, especially on a Monday, you will notice swarms of people, swarms of Sangatji headed to Bade Mandir. Maharaj is reminding me of very important satsang of my nephew. And so as your faith grows, you want to sweep everybody with you because why not? This is the way. This is a confirmed way to end the cycle of life and death and to receive nirvana, moksha, and to be forever at the feet of Maharaj. So my nephew had been struggling with an entry into the airline industry, partially because of his height, fractionally, maybe an inch or something, and secondly, because of a bruise, a terrible burn bruise on his arm and his leg. Because you have to disclose if you have any visible blemishes or, you know, by some amalgamation, he had a bruise and some very large marks on his calf and one on his arm. So, anyhow, my sister had been referring to that for many years and saying it was really ruining him because that was his single most important goal in life, and he was shattered because he couldn't get into the industry and be a flight attendant. So one morning while I was there, I said to him, I said, it's a Monday morning tomorrow. I want you to wake up early at the crack of dawn and we're going to go somewhere. I didn't want to be too descriptive about where. I just said to him, when we go there, I want you to put your prayers down at Guruji's feet, your little potli, your little bag of wishes, needs, wants, troubles, happinesses, all the things at his feet, and ask for nothing except blessings. He did that. I really, hats off to him because he did not question me. He too would, by the grace of my sister's home environment, whose son he is, they always have a lot of puja in their house as well. So he wasn't going to challenge that. He went there, and shy of a week later, I was already back home, and he messaged me and he said, "With Masi, you're the first to know. I have been selected for an interview with such and such airline," and he was over the moon. And he's still very young, so I want to say this at this moment that, children perhaps don't understand it the way we do as we grow up. And sometimes children are more spiritually elevated than we are as adults. But he never said anything about the darshan at Bade Mandir, but he did say that he had got this interview call. And shortly after, he actually got appointed by the airline, the very same airline he'd relentlessly tried for, and they kept turning him down because of his height and those blemishes. So as he was getting appointed, he was asked if he had any questions, and so he very, very rapidly asked them what had made them appoint him now, when over the last so many applications he'd been turned down because of height and the blemishes. And they said, because we want to give opportunities to those that yearn uh, to be in this industry. And Sangaji, they had changed the height guidelines by a complete inch and a half, allowing him to now participate in making an application to join. And they completely disregarded the blemishes and bruises or whatever markings he had on his arm and his calf, and to broaden the horizons for applicants. And all this after one honest, humble bow at Maharaj's feet. Maharaj always said for miles and miles ahead, and even 3 kilometers, from 3 kilometers away, if anybody's nakmastak and if they really revere and believe in me, they will be blessed. So true that is, Maharaj. Shukrana. Anantam Shukrana. It's important to remain positive, hard as it gets. I just want to say, Shukrana Maharaj, for everything that you do for us all, for protecting us, for all the events that I've heard. The political, geopolitical landscape is terrible, but you're blessing us all. You're giving us the strength to continue, Maharaj. Anantam Shukrana for everything. Thank you, Maharaj. Sangatji, I only have the hukum to go up to this point today. I hope to get yet another opportunity to speak the praises of my Maharaj, who has so kindly accepted me into his life, into his space, and allowed me to be almost like a beacon of hope for so many people that struggle with cancer. I'm fast approaching my 5-year mark, Sangatji, which is when the doctors decide if you are NED, which stands for no evidence of disease. And at the cusp of that time, Maharaj is putting me through a spate of tests. I have CT scans coming, I have brain scans coming, ultrasounds coming, blood work, degeneration in my spine, but I'm unshaken. I'm unshaken, Maharaj. Shukrana. I have one humble request, Maharaj. Let me open my eyes at your feet when I'm on the other side. Make me capable, Maharaj, to bring my cleanest soul back to you, to where the journey began. Shukrana, Maharaj. Anantam, anantam, Shukrana. Jai Guruji Maharaj.
Jai Guruji Maharaj. Dhan Dhan Guruji Maharaj. We all of us heard divine and blissful Sangha sharing from you, dear Seema Gill. Thank you very much for sharing your valuable experiences and blessings from Guruji Maharaj. We all pray to Guruji Maharaj for your good health of everyone in the family, and overall immense blessings for everyone, all Sangatji. Now we will take Agya from Guruji Maharaj. Jai Guruji. Shukrana
Jai
Guruji.
Guruji.